I guess it's different.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another bonus episode of the Failed Blockbusters Retrospective Season 3, Episode 9 out of 8.
Yes.
I'm your host, Diego Crespo. With me today is my co-host, Matt Garingo.
Are you talking to me?
No.
Are you talking to me?
Oh, get it? Because he said that in the other movie.
Get it? Because it's Academy Award winner Robert De Niro.
We're talking about the adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Fuck yeah. I forced the vote.
We did.
Just like the ouster of the Speaker of the House, I guess. That just happened.
Oh, that happened like fucking yesterday.
Yeah, it happened yesterday. There was kind of like...
That happened like 12 hours ago.
Yeah.
At the time of recording.
Yeah, so, we don't... And apparently some of the more radical Republicans... this could just be something people are saying on Twitter, but they're trying to find a way to make Donald Trump speaker, which doesn't make any sense, and I don't think they can legally do, but... What a time.
What a time. Anyways, Matt, what's your history with Rocky and Bullwinkle as cartoons? Because we're going to talk about the movie, but this goes places.
For one, does anyone even remember this movie exists?
When you brought it up for the contenders for failed blockbusters this year, one specific 30-second sequence popped into my brain, and it was a TV spot set to the music of NSYNC for the events of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Because I saw that, I must have seen that TV spot like 100 times when I was a kid.
Is it the one where does Bullwinkle at the end of it say, "I was just getting jiggy with it," which is a line in the movie?
Probably.
Yeah. I don't remember. I remember the TV spot with De Niro saying, "Are you talking to me?" They used that in the advertising for this movie.
Yeah, that was going to get the parents of the kids into this, because they're like, oh, it's a Taxi Driver.
Yeah, yeah, it's fucking...
That's what they thought would happen.
It's Travis Bickle. He's in a kid's film. That's funny.
Yeah. Hey, this will be the first time that he sort of reprises that mantra from Taxi Driver. The second time will be in an upcoming ad for Uber.
Oh,
Did you
yeah,
know
they're
that?
doing the... Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, and then Paul Schrader was like, well, time to kill myself. I don't know.
Did you know it's in Paul Schrader's contract that he's not allowed to tweet while he's working on or promoting a movie?
Did they officially add that, or are you making a joke? Because I do think they should add that.
I think it's real, because that's why he gets like those weird hiatuses where he just doesn't say anything, and then he comes back with like 3 just killer tweets and then 1 like insane one.
Yeah, or Facebook posts.
I guess that's what he does.
Yeah, everyone shares his Facebook posts on Twitter.
So
because they are half the time they're amazing, and the other half there's like, dude, get off! Like, don't say anything ever.
The other times he's like, I just finished a script. You know who would be perfect for this? Kevin Spacey. And then you're like, no, like, don't do it, do it.
One of the greatest writers in American film history. Just don't post like half the time, bro.
Yeah. Hey, what are you gonna do? Doesn't he go to like Taylor Swift concerts and shit?
Yeah, like he's a genuine Taylor Swift fan. He might just be kind of a pervert, but he does seem to like her music. I don't know.
The writer of Taxi Driver might be a pervert infatuated with a young woman. I find that hard to believe.
Oh my god. Okay. Speaking of great writers, you know who wrote this movie, The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle?
We're going to circle back to that. I have to talk about my history with Rocky and Bullwinkle first.
Okay.
But I saw this in theaters, first of all. I'm one of the 5 Americans who apparently paid to see this movie in theaters. I have vivid memories of it, and then I don't think I ever watched it again. I think I caught it on TV like once or twice afterwards, but it wasn't one I sought out. and I do remember it being advertised a lot. But Rocky and Bullwinkle, in this weird era of the late 90s, was one of the regular cartoons they used to air like late night on Cartoon Network. It was like in reruns, and it was popular enough. Jay Ward, who famously the co-creator of such character, I think I have to say co-creator because I think he took more credit than maybe he deserved, but I don't know all the details there. But his name is on characters like Rocky and Bullwinkle. Dudley Do-Right, who was a supporting segment on the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. He didn't even have his own show. Same with Peabody and Sherman. Do you remember Peabody and Sherman? They did a movie.
I do remember that. I remember that movie being pretty good, actually.
Go to hell. And most importantly, George of the Jungle, which this might shock you, Diego. Did you know the original George of the Jungle cartoon? There are only 17 episodes.
That does not shock me.
There are only 17 episodes. There was like a weird reboot that came back, I think on like Canadian television. I only know because like animation nerds get salty about it because I guess it's terrible. That's like 52 episodes long. And that was a weird thing. Do you remember the show Johnny Test? Do you remember that cartoon?
That came like right at the tail end of like me not watching cartoons anymore.
Yeah, same.
But yeah.
It was like right at the tail end, or I Am Homesick one day, and it's what airs like while you would be at school. Like, which is another, I think, Canadian cartoon that is also kind of hated. But George of the Jungle, 3 years before this, was made into a movie starring now Academy Award winner Brendan Fraser, and that movie made $175 million.
Oh, I didn't know it was a hit. I remember that movie.
Huge hit. First George of the Jungle was a huge hit, and this is this weird run that happens of like the first time Hollywood kind of like gets into like developing IP, right? Where they're like, well, what do we got? And it's a little too early to cash in on like Gen X and millennial nostalgia, right? Like, we're just a little too early for that. So what they're forced to do is they do, like the Addams Family, which ends up being this monster hit. And then the Addams Family kind of leads to stuff like the Brady Bunch movie, which I think we've talked about on this show before.
We've talked about it slightly.
Oh, yeah, I brought up the fact that the siblings are in love with each other in the movie. An actual plot point in the 90s Brady Bunch movie.
What a fucked up country.
Hey, they're not related, so that makes it okay.
I don't think so.
That makes it perfectly fine.
I would disagree heavily.
That is just like 90s cynicism right there, though. Where
is that what that is?
No, 100%. It is
incest.
No. It's a bunch of Gen Xers growing up. There's nothing on TV in the 80s because everything's terrible. And you just watch reruns of like Happy Days and the Brady Bunch, and then you're a Gen Xer, you're disaffected because Ronald Reagan's president, and you're like, man, what if the siblings had sex with each other? Like you're being like all like edgy and shit. Like that was their version of edgy before like the internet came around, right? Because they're technically not related, dude. Like what if that was the episode, man? Now people just write fan fiction. And are way too sincere about incest.
This explains a lot of where our culture has headed in hindsight.
Yeah.
That's very unfortunate.
I'm just,
Ronald Reagan really is responsible for like everything wrong in.
No, Ronald Reagan killed America. Like everything, all the dominoes rolling started with him. I mean, Nixon we can blame, but there was like a moment where we could have just turned everything around after Nixon, and then we were like, what if we do the opposite? And then Ronald Reagan came around. So
I've never wanted to kill Ronald Reagan more. I'm glad he's dead, but
don't worry.
I wish I could have pulled the trigger. But anyways,
you know he had dementia like the last year he was president. Like
that's like the famous peanut butter gum conspiracy? Have you heard of that?
No.
So like it was a conspiracy that the CIA put like peanut butter on his gums, so it looks like he's talking because he's trying to eat it.
Like the fucking horse from Mr. Ed or whatever.
Yeah. Which is very funny, and that's not, accurate, but it might as well be.
You know what the Onion headline was when Reagan died?
Nation becomes fully erect.
No. It was Reagan's body dies.
All right, that's pretty good.
Pretty brutal. But
oh, that's great.
The other one, I was thinking of, for some reason I was thinking of Onion obituaries recently. I don't know why.
Because they're great.
Bunch of phonies mourn J.D. Salinger. What was the other one? God damn, there was one. Oh, when George Harrison died, the headline was just Ringo next. Pretty funny stuff.
Yeah. But okay, history.
They did the incredibly sincere one when Ebert died. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, we've talked about it before. Because Ebert, he's in my notes for this, by the way.
Was he a defender of this? It feels like he might have been.
Yeah, well, the Ebert thing you're referencing is that Ebert, his headline from the Onion when he died was like, I know what it was.
Human existence as a triumph.
Yes, very sweet.
Yes, it was an oddly sweet headline from the Onion.
Yeah.
But
he gave this movie 3 out of 4 stars.
That makes sense. So there's this weird run in the 90s where everyone's like, "Oh, all right, let's adapt all these IPs." And then this is like right after the dam burst, where it's like they do George of the Jungle, which is a hit, but then the other one that comes like right before this is what the fuck was it called? Dudley Do Right. With Brendan Fraser, so it was trying to make lightning strike twice, right? Like we got George of the Jungle back. Let's do it again, and that one was like a huge bomb. So that might be a future episode. A definite future one is what comes a year later, which is the Josie and the Pussycats movie, which is another like notorious bomb, where it felt like they just let people do whatever the fuck they want with like these IPs, and have you ever seen that movie?
Oh, I've seen. I'm gonna hold on to my take for that movie.
Yeah, we gotta. We'll do that one of these days because it is kind of a. The only thing you need to know is that the opening of that movie has a song about anal sex.
People should watch that movie.
People check out Josie and the Pussycats, people. Like I know I think it's been reclaimed in that way that people kind of get annoyed with, but it's actually pretty fucking funny. So check it out. I guess that hasn't ended because like we can judge the people who thought the Rocky and Bullwinkle movie would be a good idea, but like we're the generation of Riverdale, so
yeah, but Riverdale is an odd duck because look, I'll be honest, that first season, it's very entertaining. It really is.
I know there are defenders of that show, like even when it got bad.
Yeah, like I always say there's a difference between Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, and Riverdale kind of like the first season's Batman Forever. Everything else is kind of Batman and Robin. If that sounds like your bag.
Out of watching the show. So
yeah, I'm not trying to. It's like 7 seasons. The cast is incredibly attractive. Like it's fine. If you like thirst watch stuff, you're gonna have no fucking problem with that show. I promise you that. Everyone is drop dead gorgeous.
I don't know if the cast of Riverdale does it for me at all.
Okay.
But I haven't. But like CW like is my go-to for like pretty people on TV that aren't attractive at all. You know what I'm saying?
That's fucking hysterical. I know what you're saying. It works for me. That's what I'll say.
Okay. I'm not. It apparently works for most of the country. Like,
yeah. But look, like Riverdale, I think people really started clamoring around it as it started wrapping up again too.
Yeah.
Because like we're coming out the end of the writer's strike and hopefully the end of SAG striking, and hopefully getting what they deserve and more, like the writers did, which is like, what a great deal, like better than I thought they were gonna fucking get. I'm so happy. But I think people really started reclaiming Riverdale a little bit towards the end of this run, because it's like, what better example is there of the possibilities of television than something like Riverdale? Like, I genuinely mean this. Like, people were like, when the fuck did this show like become this? This could only happen in television. This weird de-evolution into whatever the fuck people wanted to do on a weekly basis.
Well, it also kind of became this weird, how do you say it, like, requiem for the CW, because like the CW like canceled all its shows like right before that. Like,
yep.
Where, like,
yeah, and that show could only have existed on the CW.
Yeah, and there was like an era where the CW was like it was kind of a big deal for a certain segment of people. Like,
me,
and it was all right. I'm not judging. It was just for whatever reason. Was Supernatural on CW?
Supernatural was on CW. Yes,
yeah.
One of the staples.
Yeah, like for whatever reason, I never got into that Supernatural stuff. Like I like that, and like, oh yeah, they had Charmed. Like this is like earlier stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like Roswell. Do you remember Roswell?
I never saw Roswell, but I know of it.
Yeah, and they're all kind of a similar thing, you know. And Star Trek Voyager for some reason, but
yeah. Huh. Well,
that's weird how much the fucking CW formula has kind of just stayed the same. I'm looking at like their earlier stuff, and it's like, you know, Charmed, Dawson's Creek, Seventh Heaven, Smallville, like.
Yeah, they really tapped into that young adult like fantasy stuff, to the point where like that's just not anywhere else besides kind of Netflix, and even then it's like they have just Stranger Things left, and that's gonna wrap up.
Yeah, and
so there was sort of like this morning. You're right, as Riverdale was ending, because a lot of like pre-WGA and now WGA writers that I followed, like from the Tumblr era into like this current era. They were like, well, this is the stuff that I wanted to write, you know, like it's not for everyone, but it's our thing, and like, or it inspired them, you know, to write other stuff. Eventually, they started writing fan fiction and became like professional writers at some point. I mean, look at Chloe Zhao; she wrote fan fiction, you know.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, she's talked about writing fan fiction. She won't share it, but she said like she had an AO3 account.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Did she say like, what she wrote fan fiction for?
I can't remember. I don't think so, but I don't think she did.
If it's Star Wars, we are storming Lucasfilm.
I know.
If she had any interest in, you know what, we're fucking doing Eternals for failed blockbusters next year.
I think we have to.
Like go fuck yourself, everyone. That movie's so good. I rewatched it thinking like it wouldn't hold up. It holds the fuck up. Like
yes,
this era of just garbage that's coming out of the superhero fucking film industry. Like,
yeah, you people don't know how good you fucking had it, and now look at you.
It's literally the only Marvel film where I'm like, if they re-release it in theaters, I will go see it on the biggest screen possible. Like, which you can't say about any of the other Marvel films.
Yeah, it's the only one that plays with scale and shit. We're not here to talk about Eternals, whatever. But the point being, about television, it's changing. It's a little sad. It's a little scary. Hopefully, stuff
there was a big change.
Out.
There was a big change in my early childhood where, you know, essentially, I think we both were similar. Where, well, you didn't have cable, right? Like,
no, but I would go to a grandparent's house and they would have cable.
But not to fucking throw my like middle class privilege around, but like. I think it's a little different where, like, if Cartoon Network is just what's on, like, loop in your house when you're a child, right? Like, where it's just, like, your fucking parents don't want to fucking deal with you anymore, so they just set you in front of the TV. And to think that for the first few years of my life where I'm able to kind of, like, take in information and remember it, cartoons that aired were stuff that, like, they hadn't been on, you know, they were like old Looney Tunes and like Rocky and Bullwinkle, which is from the fucking like 50s and 60s, like that was the stuff they used to air. And then in like 97, Cartoon Network does Dexter's Laboratory, and that's when the shift starts happening to original cartoons, you know. But even then, there's like the slow. Yeah. God,
what are you doing in my laboratory?
They keep trying to tap into the early Cartoon Network nostalgia because they did a Powerpuff Girls reboot cartoon that no one seemed to like, and then they were gonna do a live action TV show, and I think it's dead finally. Do you remember this?
It's dead. That one is I think also suffering from the tail end of CW just not committing to long form stuff anymore.
Was that a CW thing?
It was a CW thing, but here's the thing: people were also like ragging on it. And look, I wouldn't say the costumes look particularly good, and I'm not like saying the show would have been good. It was a Diablo Cody production.
Well, that was the thing for
script,
me.
So
of being like, let's wait and see what this is before, because Diablo Cody, you know, takes wild fucking swings. So
yeah.
I would have at least been interested, but it was kind of like I was more annoyed that it felt like I think Craig McCracken, who like had nothing to do with it, like at all. Like, wasn't even, like, they didn't even throw him like an executive producer credit. Like that kind of bugged me.
No, that does. Yeah.
Because it's like Cartoon Network is like the house him and like Gendy Tartakovsky built. Like, it's like these guys should be getting more credit. But I'm surprised no one is like throwing around like we're doing Dexter. Like, I mean, not the other Dexter that's the serial killer, but Dexter's Laboratory. You know, that feels like we're like a year or two away from someone trying that, you know?
Yeah, it needs to get popular on TikTok or something.
I guess.
And I'm not even saying that out of like cynicism. Like, I do think that has to be what happens. Like, the money bags need to make notice of it.
Yeah.
You know.
But I just feel like they could try it any day now. Like, you'll hear it, and I feel like Barbie might light that fuse. Although the idiots who made money off Barbie are like, you know what people want? The Hasbro shared universe, or is she Mattel? I don't even fucking know. But they were like the shared doll universe. People are like, no, that's not what we liked about it. But so maybe just the people running Hollywood right now have like they don't even have the minimum creativity that would lead to something like the Rocky and Bullwinkle fucking movie. Like,
yeah.
Which is like, that was a low bar. Like, I found all these articles from the time that are like, what a fucking low culture is hit that we're resorting to adapting Rocky and Bullwinkle. And it's like, oh dear God. But
you don't even know.
Also, the fun thing, the one article I read, they were talking about like the recent bombs, which had been film adaptations of The Mod Squad, Dudley Do-Right, McHale's Navy, and the other big hit one was The Flintstones with John Goodman. Do you remember the Flintstones movie?
Right. Yes, of course. The Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Yeah. But the other thing about Jay Ward is just like back in the day, it was like him and like Hanna-Barbera, like those were your cartoons, kids. And like Looney Tunes reruns, which were made for like theatrical releases, but so like it was a very non-crowded market of cartoons. But did you ever see that? Did you ever see that John Goodman interview he did with what do you call it? Where they sit you down, they sit the actor down, and they do the like go through your career type interviews.
Oh, I think it's like GQ that does them. No, I haven't. I should. I love listening to John Goodman talk.
And it's one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen, where he's talking about, they go like the Flintstones, and he was like, I was working with Spielberg on Always, and we were doing a script reading. Spielberg produced the Flintstones movie, for anyone who doesn't know. And he said, we're doing a script reading, and right before we begin, Spielberg stands up and goes, I have found my Fred Flintstone, and gestures to me. He's like, yeah, that's how I got the part. And then like there's like a long pause, and Goodman goes, I felt like I got railroaded.
Aww.
Like he was
Poor
like,
guy.
I got tricked into being Fred Flintstone. And then there's a sequel called The Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas, which is actually a prequel about how Fred and Wilma met. And do you know who plays Fred Flintstone in that movie?
I don't think I do.
So
Oh, wait!
Yeah,
It's, Robert Baratheon, right?
Yeah, Mark Addy.
Yeah.
When I realized that connection, it blew my mind. But that's another one that's a huge bomb. Saw that in theaters.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's early 2000s. This is just take them to, there's a fucking kids movie playing. Just fucking go see it. Like,
Yeah.
it's like the last era of that. Probably the last one I went to see in that regard was like Looney Tunes Back in Action, which is like a few years later. Yeah, I read this whole article.
That's a good movie.
The other funny thing I read about it was in this article I read in the Los Angeles Times, The Misadventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. They talk about this movie bombing. It put halts on Universal's plan to do The Green Hornet. At the time, this was at a time when they were developing The Green Hornet with Jet Li as Kato. And then it's like, and still on the horizon is Charlie's Angels, which is looking to be a bomb. It was given to a first-time director, Mick G, who, after everyone else passed on it, and it says, and rumors of Bill Murray bringing in his own writer to rewrite his dialogue. And it's like, oh, this is apparently when people thought he was not the problem of that movie. But it's kind of like Charlie's Angels probably going to bomb, and that movie ends up being a big hit, though. So
yeah,
it was just a weird article. So I was desperate. Did you find anything out? I found a little bit, but did you find anything out about where the fuck this movie came from?
No.
So, like, nothing at all.
There's so little about where this movie came from.
Yeah, the other thing in this article is they talk about that later, like, no one at Universal is willing to comment on this movie, like, now that it's out. They're like, no one wants to admit to, like, how this movie got made. Like, everyone's baffled. No one has any answers. Like, Universal basically is like, we will never speak of this movie again.
Yeah. Like, really, the closest thing I found besides that is, like, an interview with the writer, which I can still hold off on.
We'll get to him in a moment.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I would love to hear what the writer has to say. But the only two things I know is that Robert De Niro is a producer on this. And I believe at the time, this was either the biggest paycheck for a single performance or biggest paycheck comparative to the amount of screen time an actor had. Like, this, for a long time, this movie stood for De Niro. Like, he was paid an obscene amount of money. And I found weird, contradictory information. Some people saying that this was actually a passion project of De Niro's, that he basically fostered it. And the other producer is Jane Rosenthal, who is like one of like the executives of like the Tribeca Film Festival, and like works with De Niro, like is one of De Niro's like go-to producers. So like she's produced like a lot of his stuff, including The Irishman.
Yeah, I was about to say she was nominated for. I mean, that was nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah. So it does, although I have found other quotes that were like De Niro did it for the money, but like there was nothing really definitive. But it does seem like it was some sort of odd De Niro passion project. The other thing I found is that like at the beginning of the 90s, I don't even know if anyone remembers this, but Seagram's, the conglomerate, which I believe started as a beverage company, purchased MCA Universal in like the early 90s. Does anyone remember this?
I do not remember this.
This was like a big deal, and they put a lot of this stuff into production. They tried to get Rocky and Bullwinkle made in an attempt to, quote, Disneyfy Universal, which goddamn does that sound familiar these days. It didn't work though. Speaking of the Seagram's purchase of Universal, have you ever seen the short film Your Studio and You?
No.
So Your Studio and You was made by Trey Parker and Matt Stone of South Park fame. I believe like just before South Park turns into a TV show. But you know, like South Park is famously one of the early like kind of viral videos before viral was even a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was one of those where like a VHS copy of South Park was passed around Hollywood and people being like, this is funny. They got hired to do another short as like a Christmas card for someone. And then someone, I think one of the Zuckers, was like, they want us to make a video to play at a party for Seagram's executives. Because like they just took over Universal. And they were like, who can we get? They got Matt Stone and Trey Parker. And it's this weird little like 14-minute short film of that they made all on their own. There was no script. It was just like they had to make it up. And it's just them. It's like in the parody of like those like weird educational films being like, here's what a film studio is like, right? It's like black and white and stuff like that. It has in it James Cameron, Michael J. Fox, Brian Glazer, Heavy D, Jeffrey Katzenberg, Angela Lansbury, Tracy Lords, Demi Moore, Sylvester Stallone as Rocky, and Steven Spielberg are all in the video.
What the fuck?
And it's never been released officially on home video. I believe I even read a quote somewhere where like Trey Parker and Matt Stone said they don't even own a copy of it. But you can find it on YouTube, at least last I checked. It's a weird little artifact.
Yeah, I bet. Jesus, I gotta track this down.
It's only like 15 minutes, so it's worth your time. But that was a byproduct of the Seagram's purchase of Universal. So that was like literally all I could find. And then I was like, maybe there's some answers in the people who made this movie. And for some reason I had never bothered to look that up. And then I did. Diego? Would you like to say who wrote it?
This movie was written by Kenneth Lonergan. For those who don't know Kenneth Lonergan, he is a well-respected film director and playwright. You might know him from such films as Gangs of New York, You Can Count on Me, Margaret,
and the whole saga.
Margaret
released.
Margaret. For those that have actually seen Margaret, this is kind of a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
And most recently known by Manchester by the Sea,
which he hasn't made a film since, which is fucking infuriating to me. But
yeah. But that movie is just like cripplingly depressing. Like that's a tough one.
But it like was a surprising hit. It made like $80 million.
Oh yeah, huh?
And was it nominated for Oscars? And you know what the story is with that though?
Casey Affleck.
Well, no, there's that, but like whatever. Like, but Lonergan, after the whole Margaret fiasco, he like basically couldn't get work, right?
Yeah.
And I believe the story with Manchester by the Sea is Matt Damon signed on to direct it, and then purposefully passed at the last second, and then was like, oh, I'm busy, my schedule, something overran somewhere, but just have Lonergan do it. Like he took the bullet to get Lonergan to direct the movie. I think that's the story with Manchester by the Sea, that they basically had to trick the studio into letting Lonergan direct it.
You know what? That kind of makes me respect Matt Damon a little bit.
Yeah,
more.
Matt Damon's weird like that, where he's like, it's like he does that, and then there's like him shilling for crypto. Like
I know, like half of the shit you hear about Matt Damon is like, man, he's like really going to bat for like education policy in the U.S. and like gunning for teachers, and he's really supporting like these other great creative artists, and then he's like berating like a black woman on Project Greenlight, and it's like like these two things, they're so disparate. Like I don't know how to make sense of him in my head anymore.
It's strange. He's a really strange figure. But,
yeah. When he's good, he's good. When he's bad, it's like, man, fucking listen to your PR team.
Yeah.
And just hide out for a bit.
Really say about Lonergan is that he was one of the writers of Analyze This, the surprise hit De Niro comedy, directed by Harold Ramis, I believe. He's a mobster in therapy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which it's like, well, The Sopranos premiered like a year before that, but
yeah, not that big of a swing at that point.
Although I think it was one of those things that, like, both were kind of in production at the same time, and there was like a rush. Like they kind of like fast tracked both things, so it didn't look like the other one got there first. But yeah. So like,
but I found an interview with Kenneth Lonergan about his stuff. So like this is November 10th, 2000. Right. This is an IndieWire interview. It's titled "You Can Count on Kenneth Lonergan." And they're asking about like any directing experience he had when he made his first movie, which is "You Can Count on Me," and he talks about how having directed a little bit in the theater, not too much, like one acts, and every time someone else directed one of his plays, he was still really involved in the process. So he's a very like collaborative, creative guy, and he's had work experience, and he talks about like the difference between writing like for yourself and writing to like get something sold, which is analyze this. But you still have to love something in the material when you're trying to just get it sold. Otherwise, you're just not going to be able to finish it or even sell it if you do finish it, right? Which is true. Yeah. You have to like on some level believe what you're doing, which is why this industry is so fucking crippling to a lot of people. And let me see if I could just find this little tidbit about the movie we were here to talk about today. Because he said that this movie, Rocky and Bullwinkle, was an assignment he got when he was just looking for a job, and he got a chance to try out for the movie, and he was hired to write it. And he says, I quote, "It's not something I would have written by myself. I don't prefer broad fantasy comedy, but I do like it. It's fun working on different kinds of things because you don't get bored that way." He goes on to reference Analyze This Again, which he wrote with a view towards selling it to the movies. And he wouldn't have written it for purely artistic purposes, but again, he would have found something that, even with like mercenary motives, he got inspired by with the material to finish it anyways. And so that's the most I found about him and Rocky and Bullwinkle, which is the most I found about anyone and Rocky and Bullwinkle. Mm-hmm. What a strange film.
It is. It does feel like it might have been written, though, by someone way overqualified, right? Like, this
little
movie does have that vibe where, like, it's reaching for something. And it also feels like someone who maybe has contempt for the industry they work in.
Oh, yeah.
So that might bleed over. I gotta say, I don't want to short sell the director, though, who I was like, where the fuck did this person come from?
Des McAnuff?
Yes.
Also a theater director.
Yes, a mostly theater person at this time, and has like very few other credits. Their follow-up film to this is, I think, a movie that is just a stage recording of the George Bernard Shaw play Caesar and Cleopatra.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, yeah, it's like his other directing credits are like As You Like It, The Tempest. Like, it's incredibly strange that like that one I was even more baffled with, like, how did it land in this person's wheelhouse, because they seem to be more interested in like classical theater, right? Mm-hmm. And they did like the stage production of The Who's Tommy and shit like that. And it does feel like way overqualified people somehow got in the room and got this job. And I'm guessing that might be the De Niro thing, if this really was a passion project of his, that he was picking these people because he liked them, even if they maybe weren't the right fit for the material. And yeah, it's I don't mean to, but like I honestly thought a little bit to Barbie while watching this movie.
I see exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, of just like the people who wrote this really under other circumstances would never have been allowed in the door, right? Like, but like where Barbie has like become this like massive hit, this one was the opposite of that. So,
I guess I will also give my take on the film now, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would also say this film is marginally less successful than Barbie in what it's trying to achieve with the talent involved. Because as we've discussed, there's clearly talent in this movie. Go ahead, Matt. What do you think about the Rocky and Bullwinkle movie?
I came to this wanting answers, and I only ended with more questions. This movie is a big what from me still after all these years. What's weird is I don't know if I have like a strong opinion on it, is what's the weirdest thing about it. Like, it's taking some fucking swings, right? Like,
yeah.
And I almost want to like go like, well, good for you. But then I'm also like, it never settles on anything of substance ever. Like, it's a wildly uneven movie, I guess is what I'm saying.
Look, there's some stuff in here that did make me laugh.
No, I will not deny that. I
Yeah.
also laughed occasionally during the movie. Keyword being occasionally.
Yeah.
And honestly, this type of humor is kind of my sense of humor in a weird way, with like the really bad puns.
Yeah, well, look, Bullwinkle, he made me laugh a lot. Okay, not a lot, but the bad puns thing, yeah, it's like, man, this isn't funny. But then they keep doing the joke.
Yeah.
And it like gets kind of funny.
Yeah.
But
it is a weird one where it's like, it goes from being not funny to being funny to back to not funny, and then staying not funny, and then getting funny again. Like, it's an odd roller coaster of a movie.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call it a roller coaster.
Diego, do you want to reenact some of the dialogue from this movie real quick? Like, do you want to improvise?
Not really.
It might be. No, we can improvise something. We can do something original. All right.
Okay.
You be Bullwinkle. I'll be Rocky. You say something obviously stupid.
Boy, New York City sure looks different these days.
Rocky, this isn't New York. This is Washington. That's all the dialogue in this movie.
that is 90% of the dialogue.
That is 90% of the dialogue in this movie is Bullwinkle saying something dumb and then Rocky being like, Bullwinkle, no. We should mention
sometimes
that
it made me laugh.
June Foray, who voiced fucking Rocky like when the show was on,
I know,
voices Rocky again. She only died recently. She died like a few years ago. She was like 99.
Wow, good for her.
Yeah, and she kept like she hung in there for a while, still doing like voices in cartoons. I think she would pop up in movies every now and then.
Yeah. Well, you know the Chuck Jones quote about her, right?
No, I don't actually.
Chuck Jones was quoted as saying, "June Foray is not the female Mel Blanc. Mel Blanc was the male June Foray."
Hey, that makes sense, honestly.
Yeah. People that don't know, June Foray was like kind of instrumental in like making animation in America what it is today, basically.
Yeah, I mean, she is as important as Mel Blanc. Like that quote is 100% accurate, right? Like she was most of the women in early Looney Tunes in the way that Mel Blanc voiced most of the other characters. And it's just interesting that like to play that character for so long and to suddenly be in this big movie. I don't even know where the fuck to begin with this fucking movie.
I don't know. I'll say, like, look, I think she still got it as Rocky.
No, she's
obviously.
great. She's great. I don't know the odd choice to be like, Rocky the squirrel can't fly anymore. Which feels like a plot point that is just there for like a studio note.
Yeah, it's like you gotta give him some sort of conflict or something. It's like, well, Rocky's like, maybe they don't believe in themselves anymore because no one's watching their show anymore because it got canceled 40 years ago or whatever at the time.
Yeah.
And so there you go. There's the arc for that character. They have to believe in themselves again.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's that thing of like studios only know like 3 types of movies to make.
Yeah.
But
let's see. This is really a movie about hope.
Yes. This is actually a movie about how fascists can use the entertainment industry to platform their message.
I mean, you're not wrong. You want to go there.
That's
Sure.
100% what this movie's about. It's clearly written by someone who has contempt for their industry. Like,
Yeah.
that they literally sign a deal with a guy who looks like a literal cartoon parody of a Nazi. Like, that's what Fearless Leader is, right?
Yeah.
Although they're supposed to be Russian because the Cold War.
The Cold War bullshit.
Yeah, Pottsylvania, I think is where they're from.
Yeah. Well, they're attached to the project.
There is a scene early in the movie. Yeah, I mean that's the joke, but there is a scene early in the movie where they're still in cartoon form and they are about to shoot men, women, and children.
Yeah.
And then the Berlin Wall falls on them. And then then it's the people just walk away. But there is a joke about shooting children in the first 5 minutes of the Rocky and Bullwinkle movie. They signed a deal.
Not the craziest thing that happens in the movie.
I know. Yeah, it kind of keeps getting crazier. They signed a deal with, who is it? Janine Garofalo.
Yeah, Jean Garofalo, a recurring member of the failed Blockbuster seasons.
We did her wrong, America. Like, I feel like there was a moment where Janine Garofalo could have been like our next great actress, maybe, because she seems to be trying stuff.
Yeah, well, this and Mystery Men, she's fucking fantastic in both. I mean,
Yeah.
she has like a very small part in this. You think she's gonna have a bigger part, and then it's like, no, she's just kind of there at the start.
Fucking small parts. Carl Reiner pops up in this movie for one line.
Yeah. Well, the cameos in this are genuinely unhinged.
Yeah, I don't know why it's happening.
Maybe these people just liked Rocky and Bullwinkle, and they're like, oh, you're doing a Rocky and Bullwinkle movie, you know?
I mean, that is the joke with Whoopi Goldberg's character, right?
Yeah.
Who's literally named Judge Cameo.
Yeah.
Like, and once she notices it's Rocky and Bullwinkle, she gets excited. But
and then it's like, no, celebrities are held to a different standard.
Yeah.
Case dismissed.
Exactly. I mean,
yeah, it's a very cynical movie.
It's incredibly cynical, and I almost wonder if it goes a little too far, you know?
I think it does.
Yeah, like, it's not, because it stops being funny at a certain point. Like,
it's very... I was kind of surprised by how mean this felt at times.
Yeah.
To the point where, like, I was like, I don't like seeing Rocky, the fake CGI squirrel, being sad.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this doesn't feel good to watch. It was a real bummer.
And then Bullwinkle just being like, I'm here to save the trees, which it's like, yeah, that's important. And like everyone's treating him like he's a fucking dope because he is.
I know. Maybe it's just the world we live in now where I'm like, no, really, we should do that.
Yeah, but he's such an earnest idiot that it's like, I would have talked to the president about the trees. Like, it's, my God. And yeah, and I don't want to throw Piper Perrineau under the bus, but I think it's the writing. I don't think her character is supposed to kind of be like someone who actually likes Rocky and Bullwinkle. I don't think they figured her out very well. So like, she was probably supposed to offset a lot of the cynicism of the movie, right? Like, that she has like a weird like childlike innocence almost. Like, there's the whole joke about her having like her inner child is like being suppressed. Mm-hmm. And I feel like they just didn't. They like either she couldn't get there, or they just didn't know. They didn't write her very well, because that's what feels off, is that like that sort of side of it. That's the really uneven side of the movie, and then what's left is just like pure end of the millennium cynicism. Like,
I think it is more the writing than her. Mm-hmm. Because like in the middle chunks of the movie, like, you know, they set up this conflict where like she's gonna have to lie to the people, to the idols that she grew up worshiping as a child, right? To her childhood heroes, and then there's gonna obviously, because of 3-act structure, setup and payoff, there's gonna have to be a revelation. She's gonna have to make it up to them, and there never really is that conflict.
Yeah,
like even when they go to like court with Judge Cameo, Whoopi Goldberg. And it's like, oh, she's going to have to take the stage. Because I had not seen the full film before, right? Mm-hmm. So it was like, when she takes the stage, it's like, this is when it's all going to come to light, obviously. And it like, doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't play into it. It's like, oh, the FBI agent is going to have to go take the stand and tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help them God. And then it's like, that's not relevant to that scene at all. So, like, that scene's just there for Bullwinkle to make jokes that he's accidentally playing a prosecutor, not a defender. So the whole thing just ends up feeling weird and like lopsided. It's like they had the conflict, but they didn't know how to like implement it throughout the rest of the movie. They just kind of cut back to the little kid in her eye, like wanting her to make better decisions because she has like the young version of herself. We kind of snap zoom into her mind, her literal mind's eye at some points for approval or disapproval, you know?
Yeah. It's a little off.
It is genuinely absurd.
So, De Niro's in this movie.
Oh yeah, Robert De Niro's in this movie.
How do you feel about his performance?
I don't know if I'd call it good, but holy fuck, is he committed?
He is oddly committed.
You know who else is committed?
Jason Alexander.
Jason Alexander.
Yeah,
I think is I would say Jason Alexander is good in this movie.
No, he seems to be the one who like really understood the fucking character he's playing.
And I think it's like it's from his time in Seinfeld where George had to commit to the most heinous, truly unhinged shit ever, right?
No, he's definitely like kind of like it's odd to say underrated comedic actor, but like I feel like people only see him as George, but like he has this ability to commit to his performances that I don't think he gets enough credit for.
Yeah, he really does.
You know, he never got an Emmy for Seinfeld.
That's fucking psychotic.
I know. That's insane. Like easily one of the best comedic performances of all time. But he's a weird career. He never really capitalized off it. I mean, he wouldn't have to, right? Like he's got those Seinfeld residuals for the rest of his life.
Yeah, and I mean he's done stage work. He's directed in the theater. He just directed something last year.
He started in the theater. He's on what is his I believe his debut is the musical the Sondheim musical Merrily We Roll Along, which is like the famous Sondheim flop. It's like an infamous flop on Hollywood on Broadway, which maybe we could find an excuse to do that.
Yeah, maybe.
Do you know that musical?
I know of it.
But do you know like what it's about?
No.
It's a story. It follows like three friends, and it's told in reverse chronology. So it starts with them like 20 years after their high school graduation, and it tells their lives in reverse, and it ends like with their graduation day, and ends with the song like Our Time, which my fucking school they sang that at one of my high school like inner-court choir concerts, and it's like that's deeply depressing.
It's like the Soderbergh cut of Heaven's Gate.
A little bit, yeah, in a weird way.
Yeah, not a joke.
yeah, not a joke. Go listen to that episode. But famously people like couldn't. The story is people couldn't tell what the fuck was happening. Because, on Broadway, people don't really age in a musical, so it's hard to do reverse chronology. And I believe they resorted to having the actors wear T-shirts with the numbers on them that had their age on them. Like, that's what they had to resort to at a certain point. And it closed after, like, 16 performances.
Aww.
It's like a huge flop. I'm guessing the biggest of Sondheim's career. But there's an interesting documentary about it called The Best Worst Thing to Ever Happen. I recommend it. It's pretty good.
I have to bring up one more Jason Alexander note.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know he has played the character of Hugo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame 4 times?
I did know that. Is he in one of the video games, too? Is he in, like, Kingdom Hearts?
He's in the movie Hunchback of Notre Dame, the animated storybook version of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, a topsy-turvy game version of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance.
Yes, that's one of the ones I have not played. So
same. It was a 3DS game, so
yeah,
missed the boat on that one.
Well, that title just rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah. Well, there's Dream Drop Distance. There's Recoded, Birth by Sleep.
Yeah.
364 days, whatever. 358 and a half days. Excuse me.
Half days.
Fucking Chain of Memories. Who could forget that? Melody of Memory. And the upcoming Kingdom Hearts 4.
We were talking about Jason Alexander in Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is he's probably the worst part of that movie.
Yeah, but it's not his fault.
Not his fault. Those characters just shouldn't be there, right?
Yeah, they should not exist in the movie. If they have to exist, hey, at least it's voiced by Jason Alexander. One of them.
He was on Star Trek.
No, actually, which one? Which Star Trek?
He's in an episode of Voyager called The Think Tank.
Okay, that's why I don't really remember Voyager, other than it was kind of disappointing.
Voyager's the horny one.
No, Voyager is the one that has the best first episode premise of the series, and then doesn't live up to it. It's the reverse problem of every other Star Trek show.
Yeah, I guess you're right, but Voyager's all right. It has some moments in it.
No, I mean, it's like Janeway and stuff is like fucking awesome, and that's how you get like 7 of 9.
Yeah,
like there's stuff there.
Well, 7 of 9 it takes like 2 or 3 seasons for 7 of 9 to show up. Like,
yeah, but
it is a wildly uneven show.
Yeah,
but I think it was that thing of like the premise is like so good, but they didn't really make the show for the premise. They did it because they wanted to be like, let's go back to like what the original Star Trek was like, and they came up with like a premise to get themselves there, and then they kind of fucked themselves. Like,
yeah. So it's like someone should do that type of show again, without having the hang-ups of having to like fulfill some franchise need.
Someone should make a good Star Trek show.
I heard that last season of Picard's really good.
Yeah. I heard Strange New Worlds is actually good. So
yes. And the fucking Rick and Morty animated one. It's not actually Rick and Morty, but it's animated like it, so that's what turned me off. But I heard it's actually like good.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't want to endorse the fact that like we're just doing that with every show now.
No. I don't either.
So,
but if it's good, it's good. You know what I mean?
If Star Trek can get its shit together in terms of the live action stuff, then maybe I'll be cool with it. And a good way to get good with that is to kick Giva Goldsman out of the room. But what's that guy's deal?
I don't know. They're doing an I Am Legend sequel. It's so stupid.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's someone who's like never done anything good. I guess Practical Magic.
What are you talking about? Yeah, Practical Magic. They wrote Batman Forever.
Yeah, bad.
No, that's a good movie. People have reclaimed that now. It's over.
Diego, you hang out with fucking psychopaths, so
yeah,
it's if their endorsement of a movie doesn't matter.
It does.
No, it doesn't. See, Letterboxd got bought by like some conglomerate.
I did see that. That's fucking.
That'll be a mercy killing when they take that website down. Letterboxd was a mistake.
I like Letterboxd, even with all the bullshit.
Film Twitter was a mistake.
Peace was never an option.
Yeah.
Rock and Bullwinkle. We could talk a little bit more about it.
Let's talk about Jason Alexander's great. I do also like Renee Russo as Natasha.
Oh yeah.
She's not like really comedic in the same way, but she does do a good job. Where is she in her career at this point? Like,
I don't know, but she's also wildly committed. I should say that she's definitely wildly committed to that fucking role.
Everyone seems committed in this movie, which is what makes it kind of even worse. Like that, like you kind of want to be like, no, don't try this hard. Like it's not gonna pay off.
A little bit, right? It's almost like kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, it's like
I don't like saying that, but it is.
I honestly think a lot of it comes down to the direction. I think the guy who directed it just didn't get this kind of humor and style, right? that I think they liked it is the thing. Like, I don't think it was someone who came in like really like hating the material. I think they really want to do a good job, and you can feel them wanting to do a good job, and they just don't have it in them, right?
Yeah.
Like, but.
But you had asked where Renee Russo is in her career. I don't know.
All right, thank you.
She married Dan Gilroy, the brother of Tony Gilroy, back in '92 before this movie came out. They've been happily married ever since, and the most recent stuff she's been in was a movie by him called Velvet Buzzsaw, and his first
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, not very good. But I like Dan Gilroy. I like the Gilroy brothers in general. We obviously talked about Michael Clayton, which is fucking incredible.
He did Nightcrawler too, right? Nightcrawler's really good.
I love Nightcrawler. Yeah. That was his directorial debut, because that's the beginning kind of like writers having to direct their own material because they need to keep control over it. Like in this modern era, that's always kind of happened, you know. Yeah. But I mean, like, it's become a big thing. We've talked about it, where it's like some writers can't make that transition. I think Dan Gilroy actually did make it very well. I just didn't like Velvet Buzzsaw.
Yeah.
And then the last movie she's credited for is Avengers Endgame.
Don't tell me that. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, she's not bad in it. Mm-hmm. She's a good actress. I don't know why what she's been up to.
Yeah. Hopefully whatever she's doing, she's enjoying life.
Yeah, she apparently back in 2014 revealed that she has bipolar disorder, mm-hmm. and she has started taking medication for it and receiving assistance for it, even though initially she was like apprehensive about it, like you know, people I think can be apprehensive about like, well, I don't need something to help me deal with this issue in my life, and it's good that, you know, she's gotten assistance for it, and hopefully she's you're right, living a very happy, comfortable life, married to another very talented person, talented power couple in Hollywood, a secret power couple. There you go. Dan Gilroy should also make another movie soon, even though I didn't like Velvet Buzzsaw.
Rocky and Bullwinkle.
No way, he's writing on season 2 of Andor. There you go. Put her in Andor. I will
shoot you. I'm gonna shoot you, Diego.
No. I want to talk about good stuff too. Okay, fine. We'll go back to Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah, you want to talk about something good? James Rebhorn is the president in this movie.
Oh yeah. Didn't he just pass away?
You know what? He passed away like 10 years ago at this point, but it does feel like... Yeah, it does feel kind of shocking still. Like, you feel like he's one of those guys that, like, he can't really be dead, can he? Like...
Yeah, he's one of the great, like, character actors.
It's probably because he's looked the same since, like, the 90s, right? Like,
yeah.
He looked about the same as he did in, what is he? He's in The Game, right? Like, he's one of the guys who does The Game in The Game.
Yes. He's in The Game.
The Game.
Is that the Fincher you don't like?
No, I like that movie, but it also, I think, it contains everything I hate about David Fincher.
Oh, okay. Well, it's no Mank.
Fucking Mank.
I'm just kidding.
Remember Mank?
Rocky and Winkle.
When is The Killer coming out?
Like a month after recording this.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
It probably will be.
It's gonna be good.
And I'm gonna watch it and be like, I'm gonna be the person that hates it the most at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like the knives might be out for Fincher a little bit. I think.
Oh yeah, because he's saying some truly fucking bullshit.
Yeah, did he say anything else? Like, there was just that one quote I read.
No, it was the one, but that's a really bad quote.
Yeah, it is a pretty bad one. But then there's also him, like, talking shit during, like, the Mank thing. And,
yeah.
I mean, he's kind of just a shit talker, which, hey.
Yeah, you kind of have to... You have to back up your shit talking, I think. And I think he hasn't always been able to back it up.
Here's a weird take that has nothing to do with Rocky and Bullwinkle. I see a lot of people going, You know what's actually aged like really well because of how fucked up things are? The Social Network. And I kind of feel the opposite about The Social Network. Like, I feel like that movie's actually aged poorly.
Because it's too nice to fucking what's his face?
A little bit, yeah.
See, I've never felt that the movie was very nice to him. In hindsight, it is too nice to him because it's not critical enough. But I don't think it's very kind to him. And I've never thought it needed to age better also, though, because of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you know what it really is? It's like Peter Thiel is in that movie. And he's like, just like, oh, he's the guy who gave them money. And it's like, that's a guy who believes in the Jewish international banking conspiracy theories. And he's like a co-founder of PayPal. Like, and it's like, they just kind of just don't, we just like kind of brush over that really quick. And it's, when I rewatch it, I'm just like, that's, you know, that feels like it's missing it like a little bit, right? You know?
Yeah.
Like, they wanted to make a movie about like, look at how crazy it is down, like, we have all these young billionaires in this country, which is kind of the Silicon Valley thing at the time. And it's like, and young people don't really have that like moral compass, right? Like, they're kind of, they're you know, a lot of what he did is typical early 20-somethings behavior, except when he did it, he was dealing with like billions of dollars. And it's like, yeah, but you know, this anti-Semites invested in Facebook, and then it fucked up our elections. And so yeah, to me, it's one of those like, I mean, I also think that's similarly about Jobs, right? But that movie wasn't received very well initially.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I loved The Social Network when it came out, and I also don't think I can like say it's a poorly made movie. I just think that it's aging worse than people are willing to acknowledge in a lot of ways.
No, I think you have a great point. Yeah. I mean, to the last point on that is that when a lot of people are clamoring for Sorkin to write a sequel to it to be even more critical of him, and I'm like, no, he's still not the guy you get to write this shit. Like, don't do that.
Who do you get to write like Social Network now?
I was almost gonna say David Mamet, but I was like, oh right, I forgot.
Oh yeah, he's all like bag ahead now. So
yeah.
You get
you maybe just don't do it.
Joe Dante out of retirement.
Oh my god.
You go full Gremlins 2 with it.
Okay, yeah.
So there's my pitch. I don't know what that means, but that's my pitch.
No, people forget he wasn't just a comedy like horror guy. Like you watch The Howling, that movie's fucking like tense.
Yeah, he's a good director. He just got kind of like weirdly.
He got pigeonholed.
Yeah, he got pigeonholed into a weird like you kind of do Amblin-y things, right?
Yeah, and it's like no, he clearly just had so many directions he could have gone.
I mean, that's all those guys from that era, right? Like that they all really could have gone in those directions, and then they kind of just for whatever reason weren't allowed to.
Yeah, I mean, that's Carpenter, you know?
Yeah. But Carpenter did get the stretch a little bit. Like, he did,
but, you know, he didn't want to be the horror guy. And now he's embraced that title. But, you know, he didn't go into it wanting that.
Mm-hmm.
But
John
anyways...
Carpenter's The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
No, John Carpenter's Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, I know. Here's a big pitfall of this movie is that the live action quote unquote Rocky and Bullwinkle look fucking terrible.
You think so?
Yeah, even for the era, it looks really bad.
Yeah, it's not good. I think the animation outside of that, like in the beginning and the bookends, like it's not like it's not bad. I think that looks good.
No, the animation's fine. It's when they're in the actual real world that looks terrible. Like,
yeah. No, so. that stuff. It's like they're so like smooth. It looks unfinished. It genuinely looks unfinished. Like it hasn't like registered.
Yeah,
in
it
the
really does.
computers yet.
It looks like a weird previs thing. Like
Yeah.
that they're like, this will be the placeholder until we do the final designs, and then it's like movie comes out next week, and it's like, oh no. Jonathan Winters returning to the podcast.
Yes.
Pops up as, I believe, 3 different characters, none of which make any sense.
No.
One of whom doesn't even really have a joke to him. One is just like straight up he just plays a cop at one point, right?
Yeah.
And he's the second of a cop gag, because the other one is John Goodman, who pops up as like a cop on like fake stories starring real police officers or whatever it's called. Like it's some dumb name like that. So they already did the cops joke, and then he just shows up as a cop again. There's a scene where Boris and Natasha steal his helicopter, and he just yells at them as they fly away. Like, boy, if I get my hands on you, like,
yeah,
and
I just don't know why.
What? And then he's just another guy with a plane at one point. I'm guessing that's a reference to It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, because he's like it's a road movie, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and they make the joke that, like, why don't we just fly? And they're like, because if we flew, we can't do the movie. Like,
yeah,
it's a road movie for no real reason. And
yeah, I mean, we should also make that clear that this is the type of movie that is like openly trying to be like meta commentary on itself.
Yeah,
where they're like, why this, why that, and then Piper Perabo is like, I don't know, I'm just a character in the movie, you know, like
yeah.
Which it sounds like more entertaining and clever than it is. And I'm not even saying that like out of anger. Like, it's just that the movie has like kind of no life to it.
Yeah. It's what we would call the Deadpool problem.
I didn't think about that, but yeah, a little bit.
So, when are we going to finally... When is the culture just going to accept that Deadpool wasn't good? Like, I know Film Twitter doesn't like it, but...
I don't know. I really don't know.
That third
Hopefully when Deadpool 3 comes out.
It's going to make like $17 billion.
I don't know. I think just the tide has turned on it too much.
Ryan Reynolds... Free Guy made like a fucking shit ton of money. Like, if Ryan Reynolds can get Free Guy up to a certain number, fucking Deadpool 3 is going to make money.
I don't know.
He's our last movie star.
Don't say that.
That's where we're at. That's who the culture has voted for.
Hey, remember when he scabbed to do X-Men Origins Wolverine back in 2009? And
I actually did not know that, but hey.
Yeah, he rewrote his lines on that movie. That was during a writer's strike.
Yeah.
And then maybe tried to get the movie off the ground on the most recent writers and actors strike.
Yeah. I know that a lot of the stuff kept working until basically the actors also started striking, right?
Yeah.
I don't really know what the rule, like what the proper protocol is, but like, yeah. Don't write, obviously, if there's a strike. Yeah. That's one you don't cross. Like if you're an actor and you're just acting in a film, like whatever, but
yeah, you're repeating the lines that have already been written. That was a pass, but now because of thankfully like solidarity and stuff like that, people are like working together to not cross picket lines. But some people didn't get the memo, I guess. So,
yeah. Well, I know it's complicated now that like the writers are over, but the actors is still going on. So I know there's like a little bit of conflict there, but that might be solved by the time this episode comes out. So if that's the case, we won't have to worry about it too much. But,
yeah.
All right. Speaking of cameos, the two biggest cameos in this movie,
John Polito.
Well, no, yes, John Polito, but the biggest one, if you were Macaringo in the year 2000, fucking Keenan and Kel roll up.
Yeah,
as Martin and Lewis.
That was very funny.
It is very funny. There's a running gag about how essentially they're gonna be washed up one day.
Yeah. Aww.
That's never gonna happen to us, is it? Although Kenan Thompson, like, hanging in there, right? Like,
yeah.
He's still on SNL, and allegedly one of the guys that he's allegedly in the running for taking over SNL when Lorne Michaels retires.
Whoa! What the? This is the first I've heard that rumor.
He's one of the guys that they're always throwing around because he's been there longer than anyone at this point, and he essentially grew up in sketch comedy, right? Like,
yeah,
he was working since he was a literal child. Like, it's either him or like Seth Meyers is the other one they throw around as like the guy who like really understands that stuff.
Hey, you know what? Those two choices are pretty good.
They're pretty good, yeah. And I just think that Seth Meyers has his own talk show right now, so. Who knows if he can balance both things? But
yeah, he would have to end that show. And I actually like Seth Meyers' talk show because he brings on like comic book guys. Like he's the only one who brings on Grant Morrison to talk about their work. Yeah,
like, he brings on a lot of and also he's very good at like when he brings on an actual comedian, like actually having good rapport with them, which some talk show hosts, Jimmy Fallon, struggle with in this day and age.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we finally started hating Jimmy Fallon for, like, legit reasons recently.
I know, not just like, hey, it's kind of annoying and not funny. It's like, oh, no, he's, like, a terrible person.
Turns out he's, like, really fucked up, but, Anyway, so Kenan and Kel are members of Wasamatta U University, the head of which, the president of, is fucking Norman Lloyd, who passed away, like, 2 years ago at age 106. He worked with Orson Welles. He's in this goddamn movie. I believe his last movie is like Trainwreck with what's her name?
Yes,
Amy Schumer.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, that one.
And so he's in this on top of everything. I feel like Norman Lloyd like kept having those moments where like we better give him some work because there's no way he's going to be around much longer. And then he hung in there for like 20 more years.
I'm surprised you haven't. Well, here, I guess you're going to bring up the other big cameo.
Well, no, I want to talk about Wasamatta U real quick.
Okay.
Because that's a whole sequence where they're on the road, they get separated, they end up at Wasamatta U, which is having an anti-moose protest. At which someone directly invokes the civil rights movement. Because Bullwinkle's getting an honorary degree, so the protesting college students have shown up. Bullwinkle gives a speech that is so inane the college students can't find anything to find offensive in it, and then they celebrate him.
Yep.
That's a wild sequence that has no reason to be in this movie.
No, it feels like someone was really upset at stuff like the civil rights movement.
Yeah. Or college protesters, like,
or college protesters,
which are mainly, which back in the day were mainly like white middle class kids from rich families who are trying stuff out for the first times, and the moment they graduate, they become Republicans. So I can understand having a bit of a beef with them.
Yeah.
Or who's the other cameo you want to talk about?
Billy Crystal shows up as a mattress salesman.
Uncredited as a mattress salesman who Boris and Natasha just fall on.
I couldn't fucking believe my eyes.
How do I do it? Volume! Billy Crystal.
Why is Billy Crystal in this movie?
Because he's a consummate showman. Remember when he was in blackface at the Oscars?
I know.
Remember when that literally happened and like no one said anything?
I don't get the chance to talk about how much I've loved Billy Crystal as an actor.
I love Billy Crystal too.
I want to. I remember that now, and it's like, fuck, that's right.
Well, the other one is fucking Ted Danson.
What?
You don't know the infamous Ted Danson blackface?
No.
This is actually related. I don't even know how to explain it. But
just to say it now.
Ted Danson was dating Whoopi Goldberg at one point.
No!
Danson was dating Whoopi Goldberg. There was a roast. There was a Whoopi Goldberg roast, and he fucking showed up in blackface at it.
Oh my god.
And you can find pictures, and it's not like, look, Billy Crystal blackface was bad, but they actually tried to make him look like an African American, which I don't know if that makes it better. But Ted Danson was straight
doesn't.
Ted Danson was straight up doing like minstrel blackface.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And it was apparently Whoopi's idea, or at least she's been like willing to take the bullet for him in interviews, like post people being like, "What the fuck?" Like, but yeah, that was a thing that happened. You can find pictures of it. Don't recommend it.
I'm good.
And I think that's why Ted Danson has just doubled down on being like the greatest TV comedy actor of all time. Like,
see, I'm a cool, nice guy. Everyone likes me. Don't Google me.
Yeah, it's just a very, very, very long apology.
Oh God.
I mean, it's I mean, this is why people should shut the fuck up about cancel culture, because like the culture has basically forgiven him. Like, it's not like he's canceled, right? Mm-hmm. He's had an insanely lucrative television career, so. And like it's not like he did it and then was like doubled down and was like, actually what I did was cool and fine. Like, I think it was one of those where like 5 minutes into it they realized they had made a mistake. But yeah, so that's another one.
All right.
I'm surprised you didn't know about that.
I had no idea.
Did people just not know that one anymore?
Yeah.
Like, because it's like, that was like a big
PR
deal.
team's buried that, I guess.
But, it was the 90s. Like, that stuff was a little harder to stick around. But,
yeah. I mean, people don't know about the Adrian Brody Jamaican thing.
Was that on SNL?
That was SNL, yeah.
But that's also the one where, like, they, like, SNL, which not, like, it's not like SNL would shy away from blackface. They did blackface until shockingly recently on that show. But, that was the famous one where, like, he just did whatever he wanted on the show and, like, got banned. Like, he's one of the guys that's like, you're never coming back here. Like, he had like all these terrible ideas that he basically forced through because he was the host. And, yeah. What's up with that guy? Well,
it's a good thing we have progressed as a society.
Yeah, now we're only protesting mises.
Oh yeah, I guess I do like the voice performance of Bullwinkle in this.
Yes, not the original voice, who I believe had passed away by this point.
Yeah, but
which I guess if you just can do Bullwinkle, you're just Bullwinkle for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Although, have they done anything Rock? You know what, they've done like Rocky and Bullwinkle stuff recently, and I don't think he's been involved. So
did they?
Yeah.
What the fuck did they do?
It was like some Netflix thing.
Oh, that doesn't count. That's not real.
Yeah, it really isn't, but I think they did it. So, because there was like that when they did the Peabody and Sherman movie, which is terrible, and the fact that Diego stands by it in any capacity is shocking.
I just said I remembered it being good. That may not be true.
Yeah. But Mr. Peabody and Sherman, when they were doing that, there was kind of a like, let's try Rocky and Bullwinkle again, like for 5 minutes, and it just didn't. It like wasn't like a flop like this was, but it just didn't go anywhere. But yeah, so the villain's plan in this movie is they buy a TV station. They're gonna call Really Bad Television, which there's a shocking amount of effort in this movie to put up billboards and signs for Really Bad Television in the background, out of focus, that you wouldn't notice unless you were looking for it. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a real weird attempt to make that ever present.
Actually, that's really funny that you mentioned that, because there's like multiple images of like, okay, they're doing a scene transition from like the henchman chasing Rocky and Bullwinkle, or Rocky and Bullwinkle and Piper Perabo like moving to a new location, whatever, right? They always start like at the sky and like tilt down or whatever. Mm-hmm. Fucking watch this again. I don't know how many times, but they'll show like the birds flying in the sky, whatever, and I swear to fucking God, they're out of focus. And I don't know why this keeps fucking happening in this movie. But I caught it like 3 separate times, and then they tilt down and everything's in focus, obviously. But I was like, why? What is that?
They are. It's a subtle way of reminding you about Rocky's arc in the film about getting back to being a flying squirrel.
Yeah, but why are they out of focus?
It's an attempt because it's subtle. It's this movie. If there's one thing about this movie, it's subtlety, Diego. It's known for its subtlety. Remember when Rocky flies at What's the Matter You to save Bullwinkle? And then the movie goes, actually, we don't actually want to finish that arc right now. And so they just go back to Rocky not being able to fly.
Yeah, they start driving Keenan and Kel's car because they give it to them.
And they're just like Rocky finishes flying, and it's like, although Rocky had that brief moment of whatever, Rocky immediately realized that he couldn't fly anymore again. And he goes back to being depressed. And it's like, the fuck?
Yeah.
But, do you remember the name of the show that they're producing? Really Bad Television?
No, what is it? I don't remember.
3 funny and wacky spies and their horse, who will also be a spy. And it's just like funny. 3 guys that look like Boris on like a horse. That's the whole show.
You know what actually got me too? How did we not mention Randy Quaid is like the leader of the FBI in this?
Oh yeah, but also because like he's not like he doesn't do anything really.
No, he's in like 3 scenes. He
shows up to yell at Bullwinkle at one point, and he wears like goggles to prevent Really Bad Television from like affecting his brain. You know?
Yeah, because Bullwinkle walked into the White House and he's talking to the president, who he doesn't realize is brain dead at this point, and then he starts looking at the TV. And then Randy Quaid's like, "Oh, not you too." And then Bullwinkle's like, "Huh." Like, I guess television's like still good or whatever the fuck. Like, he says something about like television's still fine these days or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, oh, he's too stupid, so he doesn't become a brain dead zombie watching TV.
He's already in it. Yeah, he's already too stupid. Get it? Because he's a fucking moron. He's a dumb moose.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is like kind of mean.
Yeah, it is kind of mean. He just wants to save the fucking trees, goddammit.
I know!
He's not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, but Randy Quaid's in this, and this is before I think the public knew he was crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean...
Or maybe it wasn't, I don't know.
Nah, he, like, genuinely had a mental breakdown, though, right? Like, that's not...
Yeah.
That's not like, oh, he had, like, weird political beliefs. Like, he genuinely had a break with reality. Like...
Yeah, but he also does have weird political beliefs now.
Yeah, but that's 100% connected to his that's, you know what, I'm not smart enough to really talk about those things because, but like I've seen people go off the rails and then like suddenly the conspiracy rabbit hole is like basically primed to suck in people with mental illness, you know, like it's so I can't say that as like an excuse, but like I've seen people who have like had sort of psychotic breaks, and then because we live in this age where we all have cell phones that are connected to the internet, all you have to do is like type a few things into Instagram and like boom, you're into some conspiracy shit, you know?
Oh yeah.
So I don't know what it really comes down to what did they believe before the kind of break, right? Like, yeah. But who's the... I had someone I know who did have a similar break, but they were kind of like conservative before the break, and then they just got more conservative. So I was like, well, this was probably going to happen anyway. But
I'm sorry to hear that.
Shit's fucked up. Yeah. But you know, yeah, Randy Quaid, man, that's a weird one. He's just not doing anything, right? Because he's like also like he owes the government like a shit ton of money in taxes, right?
Yeah, I think so. He tried to like break into Canada at one point.
Oh yeah, there was a lot going on with him.
Yeah.
You know he played Colonel Tom Parker?
No.
In like an Elvis TV movie that no one remembers.
Was that the John Carpenter one?
No, that's way too early. It's the one with like Jonathan Rhys Meyers as Elvis. Yeah. So it's a TV movie. No one remembers it. But it's like one of those like 2-part TV movies. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, We need another
They used
one of
to do
those
that.
for Elvis. But hey, yeah, I don't even think we can really cover it. Like Jeff Ross pops up as like an attorney for 1 second in this.
Yeah.
It doesn't really do anything funny. Like,
no, it's just Jeff Ross.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, okay. It really is one of those, like, you look at him, you're like, is that Jeff Ross? And then he finally has a line, and you're like, holy shit, that is Jeff Ross. Like, there's a lot of those.
Doug Jones is also an FBI agent.
Yeah, one of the, because like the thing that turns him into literal vegetables, right? So he's one of the vegetable
which is
people.
like a very disturbing makeup effect. I gotta say,
I actually remember it frightening me as a child. Like when I thought back to this movie, I was trying to think, what jokes do I actually remember from this movie? It was like, I remember like the "Are you talking to me?" because it was in every ad. I remember Bullwinkle going into the computer. I remember Keenan and Kel. And I remember this vegetable people because they frightened me.
Yeah, that was odd. That was some Cronenberg shit, just fucking thrown at the end of this movie. Again,
I think it's another, like, it's made by someone who doesn't really know the material they're working with, because like it's supposed to be funny.
Yeah,
and it's not.
No, it's just it's upsetting and disturbing.
Yes.
I don't know. Let's just wrap up because that's
I don't think.
What else do we have to say here?
This thing, like, there's really not much other than, like, I will say, like, some stuff I liked was like when I liked some of Boris and Natasha's shit, like when they're kind of like scheming. You know, I like that all their like gadgets, like even though they're in the real world, they just still resort to dynamite and like shit that like dropping saves on them and stuff like that. And those actually look really good in terms of looking like cartoon saves and cartoon dynamite. Yeah, probably the best performance of this movie is Jason Alexander. He basically acts Robert De Niro off the screen,
which is fucking shocking, you know.
And,
you know, I will say I also do like the moment where they're like, "Hey, we're like bad at this. Like we kind of suck at this henchman thing," and they're like, it's like a very vulnerable moment for cartoon characters.
Yeah. Feels like the movie could have done more of that, where it's like they're in the real world now and they have to like kind of deal with that fact. But I guess that's what the Barbie movie did. Like that's what the Barbie movie kind of settled on, was that like she goes to the real world, but like going to the real world like breaks her.
Yeah.
Whereas
I don't control the railways or the flow of commerce.
That made me laugh.
That's my favorite line in the movie.
Same, like that's one of those where like. The only other one was someone yells out. I can't even remember the context, but I remember someone yelling "White Savior Barbie" in it. Do you remember that?
No.
Someone yells "White Savior Barbie," and I was taking a drink of my soda, and like I almost choked on my soda. That's a good movie. I was shocked at how good that movie was, frankly.
Yeah.
As someone who's
amazing Michael Cera performance, just fucking snuck in the middle of that movie too.
That is though another one where there's a lot of kind of like people on screen for 2 seconds who kind of just fucking kill it, right? Like
like the new Doctor Who's in that movie, Ncuti Gatwa, and it's just I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like. He's a minor character in that movie, and it's like he just fucking kind of stole every scene he was in. He's in like 3, but he was good. Yeah, the Barbie movie is what Rocky and Bullwinkle I think was trying to be. Honestly,
it
like
was,
eventually.
It was 20 years too early, and also not good.
Yes.
But I gotta say, it's 90 minutes. It's kind of an admirable swing. Like, if you want to check it out, I'm not going to tell you not to, you know, like...
If you are curious about it, you're going to find, like... I mean, because we're not angry about this movie.
Yeah, we're not... There is no, like, part of it where, like... Because here's the thing. I feel like a few years later, like, post-Shrek, had this movie been made, they would have rolled Rocky and Bullwinkle out, and it would have been people being like, what are you, a fucking flying squirrel? Like... Where, like, everything is just, it's, like, it's all just shit like the Mario movie, right? That it's, like, it's all that type of humor. And I even though this doesn't really work, I much prefer this to that. Mm-hmm. So, But yeah, this was a
Also,
huge bomb.
I mean, if you're a Kenneth Lonergan completionist,
I guess
check it out.
I guess it is one of those where, like, if I ever ended up in a room with him, I would just ask him questions about this movie.
I would too. I would,
because I have nothing but questions about the choices that were made and what went wrong. But yeah, it made $35 million on a $76 million budget. We used to give $76 million budgets to a fucking Rocky and Bullwinkle movie.
And a first-time feature film director.
Yes.
That does not happen anymore.
My God. Actually, he does have one directing credit before this.
What is it?
It's something I don't even fucking know. But he made one movie before this. So there's that. I just remember reading that he had done like one movie, but I think it was like a film like in England that was made for like $10. So is it even a real movie? Probably not.
It might be.
No,
we don't know. There's no way of knowing.
No one will ever know. He's one of those guys where like he has like movie credits and then like none of those movies have Wikipedia pages. So
yeah. The Wikipedia page is shockingly small.
Mm-hmm. But hey, you gotta get your foot in the door somehow.
Yeah, no disrespect to anybody who worked in this movie, frankly.
Yeah.
Just a very curious artifact.
Roger Ebert, like you said, gave it 3 out of 4 stars. Has the same mixture of dumb puns, corny sight gags, and sly, even sophisticated in-jokes. It's a lot of fun. And who am I to disagree with Raj?
Anyways, that's it for the movies we said we were going to talk about for the 3rd season of the failed blockbusters.
Glad we got in one real stinker that just is actually a disaster, as opposed to our movies that were mostly good.
I mean, this is the closest we came to like a full-out disaster this year.
Yeah.
Like, and it is sort of. I will say, I think it is kind of a hateful movie sometimes, but it's not like you won't be hatefully induced while watching it. I guess it's just like you'll be like me. You'll be like, this is kind of fucking mean sometimes. To these poor little critters.
You'll mostly be confused, frankly.
Yeah. But the next movie we're going to talk about, the season finale, is a hateful film. But I also think it's one of the best movies ever made. And I'm only saying that now because I've not been subtle about how much I love this movie since I first saw it.
Yeah, one we was not on the bracket at all. And it was one that we just subbed in at the last minute for reasons that will become apparent.
The moment I say the title, we're talking about Sorcerer. 1979 Sorcerer, directed by William Friedkin.
Yes. So we're talking Sorcerer, which was shockingly we never even suggested being like one of our failed blockbusters. So
yeah,
it seems like one of the definitive failed blockbusters, frankly.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
I'm excited to talk about that. Yeah,
same.
Yeah. And all of Friedkin's like weird Friedkinisms, frankly.
Yes.
But yeah,
look forward to that. That'll be a big one.
Yeah, and either this week or the week before this release, you will also be able to hear our special Friday the 13th episode.
This episode's going to come out way after that.
You think so? It'll come out a week after.
You just released
Hugo.
You just released Hugo.
Then so it's Fantastic Mr. Fox,
which is next week, and then the episode will be out. So it's whatever.
Okay, yeah. So go check that out too. I'm sure we have thoughts. We haven't recorded that one yet at the time of this recording.
I literally just threw it out to Diego like 5 minutes before we recorded today. So
yeah, because we were gonna do like an Exorcist thing, and then we're like, that's a Sorcerer, and Matt brought up the good point not to promote anything new because strikes are still ongoing, and I was like, that's a good idea.
Diego said to me, I actually think crossing the picket line is fine and cool. And I feel
like people know I didn't say that.
Diego, I can't believe you're saying such a thing. Thank God I, Matt Garingo, am a hero, and I'm here to tell you, let's not do that.
Yeah, that sounds like me.
It sounds exactly like you.
Yep.
I guess I should stress just in case, like, no, Diego did not do that. It is
Yeah, I know.
crossing the picket line
gonna...
is a genuinely serious one, especially if you work in Hollywood. So no, he didn't actually do that. But
yeah, no.
Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll be doing that and Friday 13th. So thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. Matt, thanks for joining me again. As always, links down to all of our stuff in the description. We
managed to do it under 2 hours, basically, for this one. So
yeah, that's pretty good.
Pretty good for us. Yeah. I almost went on a VTuber tangent, and then the recording got fucked up, and that was all lost to time. So,
well, you could go on a VTuber tangent for Sorcerer.
Maybe because I've learned some things about.
I was kidding. What?
Vox Akama. No, when I texted you about this.
You did. You did.
Yeah. Fucking guy made a movie. So now I guess I have to see it. But
yep.
Also, here's something I did not text you. When you got sick, Vox Akama also announced they were sick and were taking a little break. So
that's actually scary.
There was about 2 seconds there where I was like, is Diego fucking with me? This has been a fucking long con. What the fuck is your angle, Diego?
Yeah, my favorite movie, Call Me by Your Name, right? That's that guy's
your all-time favorite. I mean, hey, it could just be a long con. It could all be part of some bit I don't understand.
I don't know.
It was your attempt to break me. It almost worked.
Yeah.
I texted you at like 3 a.m. in a panic when I found out he made a movie.
This is true, by the way.
Yeah, I fucking had I just didn't know how to process it. Just real I gotta fucking reevaluate my life, man.
Maybe. But until then, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. If you didn't like this episode, like and subscribe anyways because you might find something you do like. We have been professionally unprofessional. See you next week.
Fuck off.
Goodbye, Rocky Bullwinkle and Jonathan Demme.